As things currently stand, the Timberwolves have the second best record in the entire NBA, winning 9 of their last 10 games, remaining undefeated on their home court, and while the identity of this squad is their lockdown defense, the franchise lies in the hands of their fourth-year star shooting guard, Anthony Edwards, and his ever-growing offensive arsenal. Ant's entire attack is fueled by a set of physical tools that don't even seem real at times. He's got one of the most explosive first steps I've ever seen, and he can burst out of any foot stance, meaning that he's literally always a threat to blow right by his defender. He'll weaponize that speed with the use of his handle. This one starts with a high ball screen, and he hesitates with his left-hand dribble, waiting to see how Kuminga approaches the action. At the exact moment Kuminga tries to jump over the screen, Ant rejects it and explodes downhill before shedding the help with a Euro step as he finishes through contact. Here's another one that starts with the high ball screen, except this time he's gonna use it only to be met by a blitz. And just look at how he times up that between the legs dribble, getting to the rim so fast that there's nobody left to slow his momentum. He's so ridiculously quick off of that initial move that you'll have these plays where he just teleports to the paint. And when a 6'10" center gets ready to meet him vertically, that's when you'll see Ant's next key athletic trait, his ability to launch off of 2 feet. It's not just about the actual peak of his leaping, but how quickly he's able to get off the floor and reach that apex. Despite standing 6'4", his launch is so effortless that it almost looks like a big man finishing through traffic. With that, he also has the hang time and body control needed to do his best impression of Michael Jordan, readjusting his body in mid-air and double clutching his release so that he can softly float it in off the glass. And of course, like Mike, that sort of hang time has led to quite the highlight tape. The burst, agility, and vertical leap would be enough to make Ant an incredibly gifted athlete, but that combination can be found in a number of elite guards. What takes him to a different level is that he also adds power. You can see that here, beating Tatum off the dribble with that first step, navigating through the lane with some lengthy strides, and when Horford meets him with contact, it doesn't throw off his balance, able to finish through it on what should have been a chance at 3. He's really strong with a bulked up frame, meaning that in the rare event his initial burst does get closed off, he can go right through that defender's body to set up a high quality opportunity. Here's one where he gets real low to set up a right hand drive, and at the exact moment that defender slides in front, he throws a shoulder straight into the chest while slowing down, which clears enough room to comfortably float it in. And that attack right there embodies the key to what makes Ant so tough to contain, because he's got that one-of-one physical profile, but blends it with skill to get a bucket seemingly whenever he wants. One way he's able to do that is through his outside shooting. Over the last 2 seasons, he's hit 34% of his 420 off-the-dribble three-point attempts. And while that may not seem like a great number at face value, when taking into consideration shot diet and volume, that's some pretty effective shooting, and it gives him a counter for when defenders overplay his driving. Here's one where he's pushing the ball in semi-transition, and Jamal Murray gives him a few feet of space, so instead of forcing a drive, he's gonna stutter step into a 3, and just look at how weak that contest is. He'll knock those down pretty consistently. The multifaceted threat stands out most when he's isolating in the half court, and that's because defenders have no way of knowing what he's gonna do. By hanging that left hand hesitation, he's basically communicating to Draymond that if he steps out, it's a baseline drive, but if he sits back, then it's a sidestep into a triple. It's almost like he's treating his defender as a yo-yo. We know that his first step is vicious, and with the aggressive tween dribbles, he's weaponizing that threat so that he can move Wiggins before setting up the long-range jumper. And that of course works both ways. This time it's a fake drive and hesitation as if looking to shoot, only to throw that between his legs and just like that, he's able to easily get around Hunter on his way to a layup. The ability to get to the rim is one thing, but actually converting once you're there is another, and to me, this is the year where Ant's really started to put it together. It looks like he's gotten much better at reading defenders, like here where he doesn't have any intention of driving left, but knows that he can fake it to set up Wiggins before spinning baseline into a soft touch floater. Touch was always a bit of a question mark. He had a tendency to leave layups strong and could struggle finishing with speed, but that hasn't been the case this year, and I think that gives him access to more of those crafty angles. Here's one where he takes off from behind half court, looking to push the tempo, and when Draymond comes over from the middle to help, look at how he moves the ball around in midair so that he can comfortably guide it in without getting blocked. That improved touch has had a direct impact on his finishing numbers. Here's a look at his field goal percentage at the rim every year since entering the league. Over his first 3 seasons, you'll find a steady increase, some natural progression as he adjusts to NBA level defense. But through 13 games in year 4, there's a big jump. And if we also add the league average of each season to this graphic, you'll see that if he were to sustain this efficiency, it'd actually be the first time in his career he'd land above that mark, currently by almost 4%. In the event that Ant doesn't have the space to take off vertically, he'll use his length to carve out opportunities on the floor. Okongwu plays this about as well as one can, but sometimes the offense is just better. Here's one where he moves into a driving lane off the catch that gives him an automatic runway to the cup. But with 2 rim protectors in his way, he's going to drive right at them in a straight line as if looking to test them, only to take an extra stride down the middle, and that gives him an angle at a floater. I feel like we as a basketball collective don't always think about the value of a guy who can consistently take that extra step, but it can really make all the difference. Take this play for example. Ant drives and draws help from the corner, and if he were to kick it out right here, Porzingis would still be able to close out somewhat effectively. But by taking just one more step and then making the pass, that opportunity no longer exists, and McDaniels is left with a wide open 3. So you've got this guy who's just always putting a ton of pressure on the rim. This time it's a quick post up and immediate spin off the catch, but Wiggins has already pre-rotated to meet him. If this were 2 years ago, you might see Edwards try flying into the body of Wiggins to set up an impossible finish. But he's finally added the high quality fallback option to his arsenal, a fall away mid-range jumper. I keep going back to those unique physical tools as the building blocks for his game. Well, they also give him unlimited access to this area of the floor. Here's one where he beats a closeout, and when help comes to shut off his drive, he can just step into a jumper from the elbow. This time it's an isolation against Draymond. His initial drive gets taken away, but he has that strength to bump Green off of him while spinning back to his right, and just look at how much separation he created. That's a wide open shot that started with a drive that got closed off. Up until this season, the in-between game hadn't really been in his bag. We saw it during last year's playoffs, but in just a 5-game sample, so I wanted to wait and see how he came out this year. And all signs point to that leap being made. Here's a look at the amount of mid-range shots he's attempted per 75 possessions each year. In years 1 and 2, he was at about 4, he took it to another level last season with about 6, but right now he's attempting almost 11, which is the type of volume you'd expect from guys like Kevin Durant or DeMar DeRozan. I actually think it's the efficiency that impresses me most though. A pretty steady increase over the years from 30 to 37 and currently hitting over 44% right now. I'm not going to sit here and act like a 44% 2 is some crazy efficient opportunity, but it is good enough to serve as a very effective counter and makes him that much tougher to contain. It also enables him to operate from more spots, like facing up for an inside the arc isolation. Again, you're going to see him leverage that driving threat with a jab right, setting up a 1 dribble pull up to his left that rattles in for 2. Most importantly though, the mid-range game makes him that much more versatile as a ball handler in the pick and roll. Not just because of the quick hitting jumpers that punish deep drop coverage, but how it gives him another option when playing a bit slower. Like here where he snakes the screen and hunts for open space on the elbow so that he can rise up for a quality shot. Real quick before we talk about how Ant has developed his attack in the pick and roll, I want to mention a big time opportunity I've got for you guys this Thanksgiving weekend. I've been told a number of times by sports bettors that my videos can help with their picks, and if you're looking for a place to take advantage, look no further than my Bookie. To celebrate the holiday, they're offering their biggest sportsbook bonus ever, a deposit match of 110%. No, that isn't a mistake. You can more than double your deposit right now up until November 26th, and I've got you guys with the hookup. All you have to do is go to the MyBookie website and sign up with my promo code HoopVenue. You won't be able to find this deal anywhere else. They've got all kinds of different parlays, a custom prop builder, and a seemingly endless amount of ways to have a good time. With MyBookie, you can bet anything, anytime, and from anywhere. So I'll leave a link in the description for anyone interested. And with that being said, let's take a look at Ant's multifaceted approach coming off of screens. While we think of him as being an explosive, decisive attacker, over the past couple seasons, he's continuously improved his use of pace, reading the defense and countering as opposed to just forcing the issue. Here's one where he's chased over the top with Wembanyama back in a drop, and instead of just turning the corner with blind speed, he's actually going to come to a complete stop and make sure that Keldon gets caught on his backside, then start his attack. That leaves him with a pretty easy lane to the basket, but with Wemby and his 8-foot wingspan waiting. So to avoid that shot blocker, he scoops it up and under with the offhand. This time you're going to see Gobert slip the screen, but Denver's running a coverage where they keep 2 on the ball. While a lot of guys would quickly look to give it up or rush a decision, he's just going to pull both defenders with him as he hunts for an angle to attack. And as soon as a lane clears, there goes that explosive burst on his way to an emphatic dunk. The way Ant's improved his use of a live dribble has unlocked so much for Minnesota's offense. When the opposing big comes up to the level, his first instinct is to split down the middle, but that gets taken away, so he pulls back and hesitates before starting another drive. And with virtually the entire Miami defense walled up in front of the basket, he goes to a mid-range jumper right over the top. But just because he has the mid-range game, doesn't mean he's gonna force it or settle. His first instinct is still to slash. Just look at how much space he has. While about half the league would see this as a jumper, he's not a normal athlete, and instead sees a launch pad, taking off right into the body of John Collins for a layup. It's only when he can't find an angle to the rim that he wants to set up these in-between jumpers. Here's one where he snakes the screen, but Draymond's right there to take away his momentum. Without a way to get to the paint, now he can fall back on that shoulder bump, which creates a ton of separation for a shot from about the free throw line. Another thing you'll see is that he's getting more and more comfortable leveraging the mid-range threat into opportunities for his team with every game. After coming off a screen, he pauses to read the situation. He could shovel it to Gobert, but there's a pretty good chance Wemby would be able to recover. But by taking a couple extra dribbles and stepping back into what looks like a jumper, now Rudy's at the basket with nobody helping. So when he finally makes the pass, it's a wide open dunk. It's no secret that Edwards is a score-first player, but a big-time factor in just how good of an offensive player you can be with the ball in your hands is how you use that scoring threat to create for the guys around you. And I'm not going to sit here and act like he's picking apart defenses like Luka Doncic, but I really do like some of the reads and passes he can make. Because he's not only a threat to turn the corner on drives, but has that off-the-dribble three-point game, he draws his fair share of aggressive coverages. Here's one where he uses a jump pass to create an angle to Gobert, and that leads to a layup. But he's also added some more of those advanced finds to his arsenal, such as reading the low man while getting into the action, meaning that if the weak side defender slides down to tag the roll, he'll skip it cross court to an open shooter, creating high quality corner threes. This is something that I expect to just get better and better with time, because he has a decent amount of plays where he makes the right read and the idea is awesome, but the passing talent just hasn't caught up yet. I love how he uses his dribble to create an angle to shovel it to Naz Reid with his offhand, but the delivery lands just a little bit behind him and he's unable to corral it in. Here's another example. It's a double screen from Minnesota's two bigs, with Towns popping while Gobert rolls. He uses his handle to draw an extra defender while reading the low man, and when that defender stays attached to Rudy, he looks to hook it over to Cat with his offhand. Again, I love the read, but the execution just isn't there yet. As he refines this area of his game, I'm really not sure how you approach defending it. He can already punish defenses as a scorer in every way imaginable, now utilizing all three levels with consistency, with the tough shot making and counters needed to seemingly manufacture buckets out of thin air. As for some of the other traits, like playing off the ball, he's got that too. He's a knockdown spot-up shooter who's comfortable attacking on the move, and that explosive burst makes him a nightmare to contain on closeouts. He's even gotten comfortable turning his back to the basket and isolating out of the post, especially against smaller defenders. And as I'm sure we all know by now, that lockdown perimeter defense continues to shine through in big moments, helping the Wolves as they currently hold the league's second best defense. I'm not sure about you, but it feels to me like we might be entering an Anthony Edwards era of the NBA. He's got everything it takes to be a superstar in the league. Minnesota's put a hell of a squad around him, and the guy just turned 22 years old. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Edwards. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.